there is no telling where this is. It's right there in your face, isn't it? It's somewhere they call Unity Bridge in Adamawa State. You know that area quite well. You know what's dazzling about this is, look at this, 3 levels of road right there.
It is wonderful to look at. 3
levels. I mean,
it's really beautiful. It was actually just commissioned, right? So it's an underpass and interchange put together. So that's why we're having all those layers, an underpass and an interchange put together. And
plus an overhead.
Yes, and an overhead as well. Recently commissioned by former President Olusegun Obasanjo to mark Governor Umar Fintiri's 5 years in office as governor of Adamawa State. It's one of the 3 bridges that were constructed in Yola by Governor Umar Fintiri. So there you have it on your screens this morning. Unity Bridge, formerly known as Police Station Roundabout. Yeah, we can't call it that anymore. It's a little more intricate.
And I'm just.
Well, look at the graffiti on the wall.
I'm telling you, I remember I said it before we came on air. It looks like Independence Tunnel right at Maryland in Ikeja, Lagos. This particular, all these, graffiti done on the wall had the pictures of Nigeria's, founding fathers and all of that. But what you have here is just amazing. Please, can I beg that the people, my compatriots in Adamawa State, in that particular area, please maintain it.
It's so lovely. I don't know how people are doing graffiti now. That's lovely.
It's really
beautiful.
Lovely. Wow.
While you're looking at the people, I'm a little bit scared about the insecurity. Adamawa has been one of the major victims of terrorism and Boko Haram insurgency, and the fear that this infrastructure, God forbid. It's so lovely. It's so lovely to behold. Absolutely. And we really hope that there's peace in this state. I hope that the peace continues, that the security agencies do what they can to make sure that this place is secure, because we cannot have such a beautiful thing being destroyed.
I say the people because there's something that we often say here: eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. Yeah. We can't say since we have it already, we can all go to sleep. No, there is no sleeping. We just have to keep keeping on. Good morning and welcome. Absolutely. I'm Ayo Makinde here in Abuja.
Good morning and welcome again. I'm Kayla Megwa, also here in Abuja. Ayo has finally come to Abuja. We thank the Lord for his mercy, and we shall take you around to show you all of the lovely things that you have said you want to see.
There's a movie.
We started yesterday.
Good.
And we shall continue.
There's something someone said, the title of a movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't even want to tell them what you did. But maybe the papers have some of those things. I don't know, but let's get to it right quick. Let's begin a look at the papers this morning with the Nigerian Tribune, which leads with businesses can't grow at 30% interest rate. Dangote tells FG, government working with man on new roadmap to improve manufacturing. That's according to the Vice President Shetima. Find the details of that story on page 6 of the paper today. The same story you find on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. CBN's interest rate hike hindering growth, job creation, as ascribed to Dangote. Macroeconomic environment stifling manufacturing sector, as according to Man. FG hops on local content, made in Nigeria goods. Details on page 4 of the paper today. The Nigerian News Direct leads with the same story, why FG must consider private investments as national assets. Says foreign investors will only come when local investors are thriving, as VP Shetima hops on local content. Details of that story you find on page 3 of the paper today. The Guardian newspaper leads with Orosai report, proposed mergers rattle MDA's, lobbying intensifies at National Assembly. Details of that story you find on page 6 of the paper this morning. The Daily Independent newspaper, revamping manufacturing sector, FG seeks policy framework from Man for instant implementation. Demands prioritization of local content made in Nigeria goods. Approves withholding tax exemption for small businesses. Dangote says nobody can create jobs with interest rate at 30%. The story has its details on page 29. At the bottom of that page you find NNPC Limited declares state of emergency on crude oil production. What does that mean? Check the details on the front page continues on the inside pages of the paper. The Blueprint newspaper, however, leads with that one. Concerns as NNPCL declares state of emergency on crude oil production. Join the war or be left behind, Kyari tells IOCs. Details on the front page continues on the inside pages. The Business Day newspaper has a different concern. Concerns over Naira inflation as money supply hits 99.23 trillion Naira. Details on the front page continues on the inside pages of the paper. The Nigerian Observer has this one. Is it cheering to you? FG clears $850 million debt to foreign airlines. Cancels withholding tax to farmers, manufacturers. Details on the front page of the paper today. Look at the front page of the Daily Times newspaper. State of the Nation. Food riots very imminent in Nigeria, warns Agbakoba. The details are on page 2 of the paper today. Those are some of the papers we have for you this morning.
Indeed, quite a lot of things going on in the news this morning. Some of them pretty disturbing. That Abakoba story is actually one that really worries me. You know, the idea of food riots in the midst of this economic hardship and how people are dealing with it and how they're handling it. Something that keeps a lot of us worried every single day. How are you coping? And if you're listening to us right now and you're really going through it right now, you're not alone. A lot of us out there, you don't despair. Don't despair. It's a difficult time, not a difficult life. And everything is going to get better. I want you to be able to talk about this story it's in business, but from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, and it's Aliko Dangote. In fact, we were talking about this, I think we were talking about it yesterday. We said, if Dangote is complaining, where do we go? What do we do if Dangote is having issues? And it's about this CBN interest rate. The interest rate hike, he says, is hindering growth and job creation. From the Daily Trust newspaper, microeconomic environment stifling the manufacturing sector, says the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and the federal government hopping on local content and made in Nigeria goods. But if you go to page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper, you'll see where he's talking about this interest rate. He was at the villa when he said it. He was at the presidential, the banquet hall of the villa, where it was the 3-day summit organized by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. And remember, this is Forbes Africa's richest man. It says, with the current interest rate regime, it will be difficult for the manufacturing industry to create jobs and grow and compete favorably. And this is, you know, the last MPC meeting of the CBN, they had actually increased the monetary policy rate for the third straight time from 24.75% to 26.25%. The interest was decreased by 400 basis points to 22.75%. And, you know, the thing is, with everything that is going on like this, I mean, we had a guest here on the program yesterday that was talking about the fact, we were talking about taxes, and he said, look, our tax system in Nigeria actually favors the wealthy, and actually we're taxing the poor. And then if you put all this burden on businesses, the key to pulling us out of the doldrums, pulling us out of the situation that we're in, is growing this manufacturing sector, creating an environment where small businesses can actually thrive, especially with the manufacturing sector. With all of the bottlenecks out there, no matter how much we try to boost our economic environment, if the manufacturing sector continues to suffer and they're unable to do what it is that they need to do to get us out of this problem, then we are, like I said yesterday, winking in the dark. We cannot continue like this. If there's any, it's not black or white. There has to be some sort of creative way that we can encourage manufacturers. If Aliko Dangote is complaining, the rest of us are in trouble.
I think, if I dare put it this way, that I think he's just really drawing attention to the manufacturing sector in Nigeria. And if you look at the perspective that I think he's speaking from, it's, look, I'm not just the only one. I'm just one of several businessmen. And he's talking about the entire manufacturing sector. And don't forget that we often say And everyone who is anyone in the economy, any economist in Nigeria has spoken about. Look, one of the major ways to bring down the naira-dollar disparity is if Nigeria is a producing and exporting
country
nation.
Yes.
Now, if we have to export all the things that we need in country, there is no way the naira's value will improve. So that's what he's talking about. That look, if we're saying we're taxing the manufacturing sector so heavily, we tax their equipment that they bring into the country, we lay this kind of tax on them for the loans that they collect to produce in the country and produce enough to be able to export, then they will not be able to increase jobs. Don't forget that in the middle of all this taxation, we're still talking about increasing minimum wage. And that automatically increases the cost of production, which increases the cost of the products and the services, which might also make us susceptible to more importation, because there are those who believe that it's cheaper to import than it is to produce in Nigeria, and that it doesn't sound like a good thing.
Kudos to Aliko Dangote for actually speaking up about this, because you know that's why I said it's important to hear the fact that he's talking about this. You know, if other people are not talking, then we would be able to say, oh, maybe it favors some people, doesn't favor others. But if he's speaking up, then that means there is an actual issue that needs to be addressed.
I think I would say he's adding his voice to it. Don't forget, on this program, you and Chamberlain have had to host the DG of Man, Segun Ajayi Kadri, a number of times talking about this same thing. We need to make business easier for those who are doing business in the country. If we don't, we have a major issue on our hands. That's on the one hand. On the other hand is the employment that he's talking about. He said we can't create jobs. Not that we can't produce. We can produce, but we can't create jobs. And if we can't create jobs, then unemployment will remain. And even those who are on the jobs, they will work until God knows. And
the unemployment might increase.
Exactly.
Because maybe people may have to cut down.
Absolutely. Which the risk is also already been talked about. Now, I know that, you know, this paper, the New Telegraph, is not in the lineup of the papers you saw earlier. But I'm very concerned about what's on the front page. And it seems like it's only the New Telegraph that I have seen this morning that has this on its front page. That the Senate is considering stepping down, is considering the move to decriminalize non-use of NIN. Look at it right there on your front page. Senate steps up move to decriminalize non-use of the National Identity Number as Bill for Repeal, Reenactment of National Identity Management Commission 2024 passes second reading. Will it go to public for public hearing? I'm waiting, and I want to understand. I hope. The first thing that came to my mind, Kela, is let me hope that this is being sensationalized. I've not read the details, so let me just hope that somehow maybe it's just a paper that is looking at it from this perspective. But if this happens to be true, then it makes nonsense of all the things that Nigerians had to go through in 2021, 2022, all in the name of, if you don't get your NIN, all of this is going to happen, all of that is going to happen. And the NIN was supposed to be used to fight insecurity. NIN was supposed to be used to de-emphasize, was that thing to depopularize, ransom collection. If you call with the number that has NIN on it, you can search out the fellows and all of those things. And now we are hearing this. Let Senate please come and explain.
The leadership also has the same story, but it's on page 12 of the leadership newspaper. Let's be able to call out the names of the people who are behind this. So, leading the debate on the NIMC Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024, it was sponsored by Senator Barral Jibrin, Kano North Senatorial District, and read by Senator Cyril Fasui, Ekiti North. Barral said the bill will remove the criminalization of the non-use of the NIN. So basically replacing criminal penalties with administrative enforcement measures to encourage compliance with NIN usage. So that's what this is all about.
To encourage. So criminalizing does not encourage.
Yes, according to them.
Criminalizing something does not encourage. So we can just as well get rid of all of the criminal code.
Well, replacing those criminal penalties with administrative enforcement measures.
Okay,
they believe that this will encourage compliance with the NIM.
Can we do that the same thing for armed robbers?
I don't think so.
And pen pushers? I don't know. Administrative enforcement?
I think they will be speaking more on this soon. So if you want to get the New Telegraph is on the front page, and also get the Leadership newspaper. It's on page 12 this morning.
Before we make progress, let's quickly take you to Lagos. I know that my colleagues on the morning brief brought it to you, but let's just emphasize that thing again, because it's what I hear that the flood this morning in Lagos was horrendous. Well, Alakpere and Oroshoki areas of the state are currently seriously flooded. I know that the Commissioner for the Environment in Lagos has been going around trying to desilt and remove encumbrances in the way, or the flood paths and all of those things. But please, is there anything that can be done now? We know that these things happen. That someone was trying to describe, flash floods to me. I don't know whether or not this is a flash flood, but the things that it will have destroyed, it is something quite significant. We know that these rains are going to come. So how come they're here now?
And this is also bringing that responsibility on subnationals. Yes, I mean, the Lagos State Governor is not doing too badly in that regard. But the truth is, we can't continue to do this every single year. It's embarrassing, and it's a sign of poor governance. That's what it is. It's a sign of poor governance. You cannot continue to year after year after year be dealing with floods. Flash floods, regular floods, things are destroyed. This is not the case around the world. This is not international best practice. Yes, it's true. When the rains fall, it's possible. Yes, this would happen. But it shouldn't be up to one where we're seeing destruction and things like that, So there's a lot that needs to be done, and state governors need to take this a little bit.
It's the commencement of the second session of the 10th National Assembly.
Celebrate our achievement.
The Deputy Speaker presides and presents an address on behalf of the Speaker, detailing the journey of the 10th House so far.
Most distinguished colleagues, the House introduced 1,351 bills, the highest number in any first section since 1999.
Matters of urgent importance are then raised, one of which is the suicide bombing in Gwoza, Borno State on Saturday, the 29th of June, which claimed over 30 lives.
The 30 young men who lost their lives ranges between the ages of 35 downward, including teenagers and infants. The suicide bombers, after identifying their faces, it was discovered that they were recruited, they were drugged, they were brainwashed, and they were imported to come to Gwoza from somewhere to cause this issue. They came in uniform, what is normally called in the northern part of Nigeria, Anko.
In their contributions, lawmakers prefer what they believe to be solutions.
We can call on the president to sack all security political appointees. All political is 10 months. All of them have been in office for 10 months. Even if you are given a job, you have a probation of 10 months. If you're not living up to expectation, you don't get your confinement after 1 year.
These young people that are unemployed can find solace and hope in being in one state, in a state police, a local government police arrangement.
The issue of state police, sir, I will tell you for free, I will not go for it. You know what the governors are doing, how they are cajoling, how they are manipulating the states. They are complaining they cannot pay 60,000 naira now for minimum wage. You want to go and add another branch of problem to them, and at the end of the day, you will arm them, and then they will have more sophisticated armed robbers in the country.
The matter is referred to the Committee on National Security and Intelligence for further investigation.
Alleged mismanagement of
another matter that received the attention of Parliament is the alleged mismanagement of funds allocated for improved agriculture across the country.
Cognizance of the need to investigate government agricultural interventions and funding allocated to departments agency schemes and programs outside the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to ensure transparency, accountability, and effective resource utilization.
The House also considered a motion urging the federal government to pay as much attention to the flooded sections of the East-West Road as it does to the coastal road.
The federal government has prioritized the coastal road over the crucial East-West Road, which is very vital for the economic survival of our dear country. The House resolved urged the Federal Ministry of Works to immediately revoke or terminate the contract for the construction of the flooded East-West Road and award same to a company with expertise and capacity.
The attention of the House was also drawn to the outbreak of cholera in the country by the minority leader, as the House resolved to urge the federal and state governments to urgently put measures in place to curb the spread of the disease. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Well, two gentlemen join us this morning to have this conversation with us on the spate of insecurity, particularly that which happened at Gwoza. Honorable Ahmadu Jaha is here with us. He is federal constituency representative of Chibok, Damboa, and Gwoza. He's also a member of the House Committee on the Army. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. He's here with us. He's here with Mr. Dixon Osaje, who is a certified counterterrorism practitioner and global security analyst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start with you, Honorable. Do you think people generally have an understanding of what we're talking about here, of the serious situation that took place in Borno State? Because there are those who wonder, wait, are we back there, or is it just something that just happened? 32 people dead already. One is bad enough.
Yes, actually, I would want to understand that people have the understanding of what is happening. In fact, people were shocked when they heard what happened, because it's like we are going back to 10 years back. Gwoza was declared a terrorist, zone 10 years back, to be precise, in 2014. And now in 2024, we still have suicide bombers in Gwoza, at the heart of the town, close to motor parks, close to General Hospital, and on the main road, main street, inside the town. So people are shocked of what actually happened, and as I'm talking to you now, every young man in Gwoza is holding either a cutlass or a stick or anything that he can defend himself with.
So when you say the people are shocked, is government also shocked? Because I remember we had this conversation with the government official there, and they are also sounding like they didn't see this coming.
No, from the statement of Defense Headquarters, it's like the government is not shocked, because it's like government have seen it coming, because their description is a sign of weaknesses on the part of the terrorists for going to attack soft targets, especially in Gwoza. And they went even to the extent of saying that their own military cannot be deterred with what actually happened in Gwoza. So from my understanding, it's like they might have seen it coming, and they know it's part of or it's a sign of weaknesses on the part of the terrorists. But for the people, we are somehow shocked, because we didn't see it coming. People who are relaxed, people who are somehow feeling at home, because a peace is gradually returning. We did not record or notice or witness any form of attack, maybe for the past 2 or 3 years in Gwoza. There was nothing like attack of either villages or the main town. Unfortunately, this thing happened.
Mr. Saji, what do you think here? Is it a resurgence, or is it just a one-off?
I don't think it's a one-off. Fantastic question. Because we all believe that Boko Haram has been decimated. He likely said that the people of Gwoza were in shock when that incident transpired. But as a counter-terrorism practitioners, you don't, go to bed when an institution of Boko Haram, for example, being established about 13 years ago, you think they are gone. They're not gone. 2 weeks ago, Afghanistan put out a statement out there that the country is open as a safe haven for terrorists and those who seek to run from prosecution in their given nations. And I strongly believe that most of these guys who are going to Afghanistan to receive training are trying to also beef up. When I look around the happenings, the multi-dimensional security threats bedeviling Nigeria, looking at the banditry aspect, I strongly believe that most of these guys, kidnapping Nigerians for funds are trying to, build up their armaments, get more arms and surprise the Nigerian state. What happened in Gwoza is under the classification of surprise attack. And that is why our people must also be sensitized on terrorism awareness. Let them know that any day, any time, terrorists can strike again. One objective of terrorism is that you can't tell when they want to strike. The day they want to strike and time they want to strike.
Sorry, Mr. Osaji, when you say surprise attack, it's a little befuddling. I continue to hold this placard on my heart that no one can tell me, nobody can tell me
in this country, all over
in this country can tell me that the Nigerian army or our security apparatus is so vulnerable that they will not know. I can't believe it. Because even the police, we hear reports all the time that whenever the police, Nigerian police go out of Nigeria, they perform so exceptionally well. But then, so when I hear that this surprise attack happens, why don't we hear that they surprised the terrorists themselves, as opposed to this kind of thing, saying, this came to government as a surprise, it came to our military apparatus or our security apparatus as a surprise. I don't want to believe that.
Let me make you believe. I truly understand your position, and that's a fantastic question. Now, I rightly told you that terrorist acts can happen any day, anytime, anywhere. And 70% of terrorist attack all over the world, going by the counter-terrorism profiling, are successful. Why are they successful? Because you don't know the day, the time, and where they want to strike. Our military will not be everywhere. And that is where response mechanism comes to play when this incident occur or are successful. So we must also learn from what happened in the United States as well. And that is why I want our military to be on top alert. Because,
Mr. Saji, just so we don't miss that point. How aware are you of the security situation in Gwoza itself?
Well, for me, we all believe that security situation in Gwoza has returned to a state of peace under negative peace. Negative peace is a situation whereby you live in a state of little fear, not believing maybe something will happen.
I'm asking that because there's a BBC report that talks about how the security apparatus in Gwoza, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. There's a BBC report that talks about how the security apparatus in Gwoza changed recently. Honorable Jaha is shaking his head because
change for good or change
for what?
No, it changed in the sense that local communities like Gwoza and those Polka and Mandara. So in the little communities, there used to be military formations in those places that kept those communities safe. We heard from that BBC report that those little camps were closed down. This is true.
No. It's not that little camps are closed down. And we still have camps in Pulka. We still have camps in Gwoza. The only place we don't have camp is Ngoshe and Kirawa and Isge. These are the only places we don't have camps.
So you don't have camps in those places because the issue is that those terrorists came in, according to the reports we're getting from your states, Honorable Jaha, that those women came in from Mandara, from the Mandara Mountains and from Pulka, and were able to enter into that Gwoza. So my question really is, what is the security situation between that place, that mountain in Mandara, where we're hearing a lot of people say there's no military presence there at all? So what's the situation between there and Gwoza, which is where you're from?
Very good. Mandara Mountain completely is under the occupation of Boko Haram members. Take it or leave it.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
And the Nigerian government
I am from the mountain area.
The Nigerian government is aware?
Nigerian government is aware.
The military is aware?
The military is aware.
The army is aware?
In fact, let me tell you, as I'm speaking to you, Boko Haram is the one governing this Mandara Mountain, the whole of Mandara Mountain. Take it or leave it. In fact, they practice Sharia law. They went even to the extent of slaughtering women, particularly those that attempted to escape, men that attempted to escape, to come down to Gwoza.
Sorry.
So to tell you this...
Just a second.
Yes.
You said the military is aware.
They are aware.
You are a member of the committee on the army.
Yes.
And the army is aware.
Yes.
Have they been informed?
They were. Actually, when we went for an oversight function in Maiduguri,
okay,
we had a direct encounter with the theater commander, GOC, and other military generals on the presence of Boko Haram members in Mandara Mountain. They said they are doing the needful. In fact, they will even said that they are training their own military personnel that can walk on the top of the mountains. What I'm trying to say in a nutshell, from all indication, they don't have a ready-made and trained personnel that can operate at the top of the mountain.
Okay.
Unlike the mobile force that we have, that used to have their training on the same Mandara Mountain in the past. One, secondly, from my understanding, if they do have people that can go to that mountain and hold grounds, whenever they capture to that particular mountain, I know definitely they are going to disseminate Boko Haram.
So when you heard DDMO say that these attacks are desperate attempts by these terrorist organizations to be relevant again and sort of destroy the progress or destroy the perception of the progress that the military has made against terrorists, how did that make you feel as someone from there? Is this and we also heard similar from the president where he said this is a one-off, this is an isolated incident, it's not the reality of this place, and of course promising that punishments will come to these people. What does that say to you vis-a-vis what you know, at least what you've experienced on the ground in Gwoza?
Yes, President was right by saying that it's not the reality of Gwoza. Because even the suicide bombers, after identifying their faces, they are not from Borno, talk less of being from Gwoza. They are not from Gwoza, they are not from Borno. Because we know ourselves in Gwoza, and we know the type of tribal marks we have on our faces. The tribal marks on the faces of these terrorists, about 3 of them, because their faces were identified, they are not from Borno. So that is why I said we were surprised. We were not expecting it. Let me tell you, at the very beginning, when the thing was somehow hot, what we normally do is whenever people are going to farms, the military men used to give them tag.
Yes.
And whenever they are returning back from home, from farm, they have to present this tag for collection.
Before you can come in.
Before you can come in. We stopped doing that out of complacency. Secondly, there was a search. Whenever you are going out to the farm, they will search whether you are carrying either food, condiments, or other related things to the Boko Haram members. It will be seized immediately because you don't have to use them in your farms. That at the same time, if you are coming back from farm, you will be searched thoroughly. We stopped doing that. So in short, there is a complacency on the part of the people, and there is equally a complacency on the part of our security agencies. That is the truth of the matter we have to accept. And another thing, somebody cannot come from maybe northwest or southwest or south-south or southeast or even north central and come to the northeast and go to Gwoza in Borno State without a help from an insider. Whether we like it or not, we have to accept that.
So the truth is, and it's important that you've pointed that out,
yes,
because when military operations are happening, they
yes,
always talk about the fact that residents, people from the communities,
yes,
are complacent, many members,
yes,
of communities are complacent in these attacks.
Yes.
Now, I want to be able to talk to a security SM Sosaje.
Okay.
With this dynamic, what should the military be doing right now?
This is the location, because I'm surprised getting this intelligence from my honorable. You see, one thing about terrorism is that...
Wait, you said visit the location. What do you mean? Just go there?
When I say visit the location, the military understand that they are to go there and decimate this criminal element from the territorial space of Nigeria.
Understand what the question was.
Yeah.
We have, as he has said now, residents, people from the communities who are complacent in these situations.
Okay.
For whatever reason. And that's why they keep talking about the fact that the non-kinetic measures have not been addressed.
Okay.
So while you're busy fighting Boko Haram, you still have a fodder that they can still harvest from to put in their ranks. With that dynamic, what should the military be doing right now?
Let me tell you something you need to understand. When it comes to terrorism fundamentals, you know, there are phases of applications. These terrorist groups, they are well designed. more than some multinational companies. They have a very robust organizational structure. One of the organizational structure is that they put in auxiliary force, they put in operational force, and they put in intelligence force. What this auxiliary force do is that they stay within the community and gather information where, when, and time to strike. Then the intelligence force send information to their command center. This is because the objective of terrorism is to maximize casualty. And that is why when you go to maximize casualty, your mission is to die. And if your mission is to die, that means you have no way to come back home. So these three forces, the auxiliary forces, the operational forces, and the intelligence forces, makes it very difficult for you to ascertain when and where they want to strike. Now, you really talk about the military. Let's give the military the cap. You know, for you to put your life on the line to die for a given nation is worth appreciating. But we must not allow these terrorists to survive. We must not give them time to regroup and also recuperate. What the military should be doing after hearing my beloved honorable giving this intelligence about the occupation of Marada, I think we have a special force that should go to that mountain. 2 weeks ago, the Israeli forces went into the enemy's den of Hamas and extracted 3 Israeli hostages. What happened? They had a formidable force protection team in the sky, giving them coverage, and they went there into deception. The military should also apply deception this time around if they want to take out these guys, because deception is one of the given factor in a battlefield, deception and surprise. So we should go after these guys and decimate them anytime. We must not allow them to regroup because they've messed up a lot. But I must tell you this bitter truth. I see a rebirth of Boko Haram. Before we get to that question, with what's happened, we saw from the report from Borno that those women, there were 30 of them. Am I correct?
No, 30 people that died.
That's how many women, how many terrorists came into Gwoza?
No, as far as we are concerned, is 3 that detonated the bomb. 4. There were 4 detonations. Yeah, there were 4. 3 detonations.
So are we aware?
Because I went there, I visited the place.
Are we aware of are these the only people, or are there others that should be? Is there some kind of vigilance that should be going on right now?
Yes,
so that we can...
definitely, because...
Is there any idea of how many people we're dealing with here?
Immediately after that incident, the military decided to put curfew immediately, so that everybody can go home, so that they will be doing door-to-door search to see if there is an alien or any other person that came in, so that they can identify him or her. 1. Secondly, the curfew continued until on Monday, when we visited the place together with the deputy governor, who is the acting governor of Borno State today, the senator representing the constituency, who happens to be from the same local government with me, Senator Alin Dume, and my humble self, and some stakeholders. We went to Gwoza to condole the families of the deceased. Then we lost 29 people. And later on yesterday, one of the victims passed out. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell, there was a curfew, but the curfew has been relaxed now. But military men are taking measures on how to search people before going to farms, and whenever they are coming back, they will be searched thoroughly.
It was because, yes, Governor Zulum isn't around, is he?
Yes, he's in around, but he handed over to the deputy governor. He has traveled to Saudi.
For, do we know?
For Hajj.
Okay.
Yes. You know, one of the questions that I would like, when you say that the people were complacent,
yes,
what is it that the people should have done? You said at some point there were some measures they were, executing that they relaxed.
Yes. Okay. The people should be very active because terrorists are very, very unpredictable.
It leads me to the question that we've on the endless question of local government administrations. There are those who would ask whether or not the local government system in these places where these attacks happened are as active as they should be.
They didn't exist.
Because I'm wondering if they indeed existed the way they should exist. Do you think this would have been a
Actually, local government exists because the current chairman of the local government spent...
Are they as active and well-funded as they should?
Yes, very active. As I'm talking to you, the chairman was sworn in about 3 or 4 months back. He has succeeded in returning about 4 communities in Gwoza to go back to their villages. The chairman is very, very active. Fortunately, the chairman was a staff of Ministry for Reconstruction, Rehabilitation and Resettlement before he was appointed. So before he was elected, he has the capacity and the experience to do all this. As I'm talking to you, local government system is in Gwoza, is working in Gwoza. All the head of departments are in Gwoza, and the local government chairman is up and doing. As I'm talking to you, before I come to this studio, I called him. He was on his way from Owa to bring fertilizer for farmers. So the chairman is very active on ground.
There's a question. There's a conversation we had with another citizen, an indigenous. I forgot it's a Massa or something like that. He was with us. I think it was last week or even Monday, saying that look, Boko Haram has infiltrated the community. That there are even members of his own household who are members of this terrorist group, and that it's like everybody knows everybody, and that sometimes it's even difficult to rat them out because they are your family. Is it something that government is aware of?
No, I don't think that is true. The truth of the matter is, even in a family, you have people that have sympathy for Boko Haram members.
Just sympathy, not membership?
Not by extension, membership. Because if you have sympathy for somebody, you can give him information. In short, there is fifth columnist attitude in the operations, whether we like it or not. You have people that are still bad eggs communicating with the Boko Haram in the bush, which I believe the security agencies are doing something about it.
Now, I am aware that we understand that there are at least one DSS official, one intelligence officer in every local government in the country.
Yes.
That is why I'm still befuddled about the fact that this is something that caught us by surprise.
No, it's going to catch us by surprise, and I say it and I will keep on saying it. I said we were relaxed. There was some level of complacency.
Including the DSS officials?
No, I said all the security agencies and the people. Because business security is everybody's business. Whether you are a security agent or not, it's your own business. And you have to take it seriously.
I mean, that's shocking that complacency entered into this situation in Borno. Just not too long ago, we had the attack in was it Yobe? Where the residents refused to pay harvest tax to Boko Haram. And that is something that we're dealing with at that time. How did that happen and then we're complacent just next door? You're not far from each other. That should have been some kind of pointer.
We are about 200 miles away from Yobe. Gwoza is 200 miles away from Yobe. In Gwoza, we have 13 political wards, but only 4 political wards are not under the occupation of Boko Haram.
Wow. And you say this, which counters what we keep hearing from the military and from the federal government, which is that there is no Nigerian territory that is under the control of Boko Haram. Are they lying when they say that?
I don't know what you mean by territory. As far as
space of land,
very good. Even if it's a one step, if it is under the occupation of Boko Haram, can be described as ungovernable, and it is under the occupation of Boko Haram.
So let me tell you, they are lying to us when they say that.
Let me tell you, it's not that maybe their own understanding or definition of territory is different from my understanding as a politician of a territory. To the best of my knowledge, a territory is where a step that is not under your control is not under your control. So that particular area is called territory that is not under your control. For instance, in Gwoza, I have 13 political wards. Pulka is one of the political wards. In Pulka, is only Pulka area that is safe. But some part of the ward is not safe, which is Oko. Nobody can venture into that because you will end up being in the hands of terrorists. In Gwoza, we have 2 wards at the center. Blabling, Gwoza Wakane, and Hausari Gadamayo. This one, they are safe. Even though some part of them are equally not safe. Another thing, nobody can venture 5 kilometers away from this place alone without security agent that can survive it. Another thing, I have Guduvnagadio Guduvuwewa. It's completely under the occupation of Boko Haram. You can quote me anywhere. Kurana Basangoshe Sama, completely under the occupation of Boko Haram. Chikideju Kuhum, completely under the occupation of Boko Haram. Gavaga Palawa, completely under the occupation of Boko Haram. Wala Waravedure, only Warabe, which has about 4 or 5 political units that is not under the occupation of Boko Haram, but substantially like 75% of the world is still under the occupation of Boko Haram. So in my analysis, if you have 13 political wards and only 4 or 5 political wards are accessible, that particular local government is under the occupation of Boko Haram because substantial part of it is still ungovernable, does not have security presence, and is under the occupation of Boko Haram.
And elections still hold there?
No, we conducted our election in IDP camps in Pulka and Gwoza.
Okay. We'll take a short break for some messages and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Well, quickly, Honorable, let me come to you. I wanted to take a question with Mr. Saji, but just, from this message that we have more than 100 years of military gallantry and, the congratulation is coming from the front lines. And we're talking about a front line here. One of the questions that arises in my mind is, do we have enough motivation for the men on the field? And I'm not just talking about money or welfare now. Is this something that, are they motivated well enough to be able to dare anything?
I don't think they are motivated because their effort, if you compare it with what they have been given on daily basis or monthly basis, it will not tally compared to what is obtainable in other countries of the world. For instance, if soldiers are going to peacekeeping, soldiers went even to the extent of lobbying to go for peacekeeping because they know there they are stimulated, they have equipment to do the war, they have equipment to fulfill their own ambition as military men. In Nigeria, it may interest you to know that an allowance is collected by somebody in the field, in the battlefield, is 1,500 naira daily. In other words, he is working for 62 naira 50 kobo in every hour. So in other words, if he is going to fight terrorists for 2 hours and survive, he will end up getting 125 naira. How do you expect him to perform? For God's sake, we have to tell each other that he has family. How do you expect him to perform? If he can fight terrorists for 2 hours, what he can go home with is 125 naira.
Imagine if someone offered him more.
Imagine if someone offered him more.
Honorable, what's your take on it? The question that I will beg your pardon, Mr. Saji. I wanted to ask you, he was talking about political words and everything. So the question that came to my mind to ask you about that is this a politically motivated occurrence, or it is something that some have called a grand global scheme?
Well, terrorism has three foundations, sponsorship. We have the state-sponsored terrorists, we have the state-directed terrorists, and we also have the independent terrorists. Sometimes state-sponsored terrorists are terrorists that the government or the state tends to supply arms and ammunition, while the state-directed terrorists are terrorists that the government, directs them to go after the enemy of the state. Then the independent terrorists are terrorists that, on their own way, try to rise against the state. Now, where Boko Haram stands, I'm unable to place it. Either it's been state-sponsored or, independent. The battle has lingered for so long.
You think it is possible for it to be state-sponsored?
If it is state-sponsored, it could be an international state-sponsored, because most of these guys sometimes get money from the international community. Like sometimes what these terrorists do, they have an organized system whereby, for example, maybe Boko Haram made a lot of money through hostage taking. They can send it to their international brothers to also get arms and ammunition. So that is where we have the major problem in the area of terrorism management. But I think we're still going to get it right. Like we rightly talk about motivation and force protection, and as well, we need to tell our military to do more for us, because we can't live in a country where we still have some non-state actors occupying the territorial space of Nigeria. Because what has been put out there for so long is that Boko Haram has been completely annihilated. Going by what the Honorable have just said, I think they have not been annihilated, and the military should take this very seriously, and they must go after these guys because they are not powerful than our military.
Kudos to the military for the work that they do.
Absolutely.
And I'm a military kid, so I know what that's like.
Oh, sure,
you know, and the need for the Nigerian people to support the military and always show up, their morale. They survive on our morale because, like the Honorable just said, that money makes no sense.
It's been so long.
The money makes no sense. So they basically are surviving on their morale and their patriotism,
Nigerians,
which is a very important
motivated.
thing. I want to be able to talk with you because you just mentioned terrorism management.
Yeah.
There's a question that a lot of people have been asking recently since Gwoza's attack happened, and it has to do with this concept of repentant Boko Haram. Okay. We have understood that there are different levels of Boko Haram.
Okay.
Not everyone that is called Boko Haram was shooting people. Some people were supplying fuel. Some people supplied food. Some people supplied perfume. Some people are terrorists by association.
Fantastic.
So this issue, is this being managed properly? I keep asking. I know that the idea that we don't want them stigmatized because that would encourage more of them to give themselves over to the military and say, okay, we're not doing this anymore. So we get that. But is there some kind of, are we handling it properly? Is it being done properly in your view as an expert?
Well, in my view, I think it's not being done properly in the, when we talk about the repentant Boko Haram or the repentant terrorists. In the U.S. terrorism policy, there are two major factors I highlighted from the U.S. terrorism policy. One of the policy statements is that make no concession with terrorists and strike no deal with them. That is, make no concession with bandits, strike no deal with bandits. Here in our country, we see some of our leaders, striking deals with bandits, taking pictures with bandits. One of the strongest policy in the U.S. policy, terrorism management, is that bring every terrorist to justice. Now in our country, we don't bring them to justice. We pardon those who kill our soldiers. We pardon those who kill our officers. They are your brothers, they are your sisters. They are my brothers and my sisters. So when you pardon some people on this hand and they are killing our troops on this other hand, that tells you we've messed up with terrorism management. And I would strongly advise that word, repentant terrorists, should be eliminated from our space. I don't want to hear about it, and we should not bring that to public hearing, because when you kill or take a life, you must be brought to justice. And that is why you see the US and other countries, they are striving in the area of terrorism management, because they don't strike deal. Here we strike deal. They don't pardon these guys, here we pardon. So if we bring them to justice and if we don't strike deal with them, I tell you, and we have consequence management as well, because one of the major factor or the major problem we have is consequence management. Who are the sponsors of Boko Haram? Some time ago, United Arab Emirates intelligence gathering gave us some list of people who were sponsoring Boko Haram. Where are they right now? Are they in cell? Are they in prison? Have they been prosecuted? So if you don't bring these guys to justice, terrorism will strive, and it will keep on striving.
Honorable Jaha.
Yes.
Same question. What do you make of this? Because you are the one there. When they are repentant, when they are done with them, they bring them back into your community.
You see, in every fora, I reserve my comment as far as the issue of repentant Boko Haram is concerned. I hold the same position with him. And whenever I want to talk about it, it may be contrary to the expectation of some people, but as a representative of people, I know what my people want. And I stand by it. That is the truth.
What do they want?
Very good. My people want peace. And they know there is a price for that.
And what's that price?
The price is, whether we like it or not, we have to face the reality. Security must be everybody's business.
Leading me to the question of how involved the governors in the Northeast are about this. I know that they have held quite a number of Northeast security summits.
Yes. And my governor is the chairman of the Northeast Governors Forum.
And here we are.
And they are doing their best. Let me tell you.
Is there something else they could have done?
To the best of my knowledge, what they are doing is the best. The best in the sense that they are doing what can bring peace, particularly in Borno State and Yobe State.
Can we expect the governors collectively to surprise the terrorists too, as they surprised us?
No. I don't think they have to do that, because I don't think it's part of their job description.
Really?
Governors are only augmenting the effort of the federal government, because security is in an exclusive list, exclusive legislative list of the federal government.
So what does the governor do with the security votes that they collect?
They recruit civilian JTF, they support the vigilante, they support the hunters, because they are the one helping the military on ground to succeed.
Is that to say that strategy is not working?
It's working.
It's working. What I'm telling you, what happened in Gwoza is a peculiar case. As I'm talking to you now, every young man in Gwoza is holding
How are we to be sure, Honorable, that this surprise is not going to happen again?
This is why we are telling our people, especially when we went there on Monday, we told our people to be resilient, to be vigilant, and to go back to our system of securing our local government in the past by searching, putting surveillances, putting vigilance on anybody that is coming to our local government.
And you also said earlier that, you know, the military has been doing some things, and then here we are now. Is there, what would you be suggesting to them? Because surprise or no surprise, some people have died.
Yes.
Some fathers have lost.
Yes.
Some children have lost their fathers.
Yes.
Some children have lost their mothers and all of that. So how do we ensure that this surprise is not a series?
As far as I'm concerned, is when we had a discussion with the military, they are going back to what they have been doing in the past. One, by providing tallies or tiles, or token for anybody that is going to farm. And whenever you are coming back, you have to bring it back. And it's going to be different colors. One. Secondly, the stop and search must be continued. In other words, anybody that is coming to the town must be searched thoroughly, regardless of who you are, before you go into the town. And we inform our people to be vigilant. Vigilant in the sense that let them identify any person they feel or they believe is not from Gwoza. Let them report him immediately, because we know ourselves. If we are sitting here like this, if you are from Gwoza, I will be able to tell you that you are from Gwoza, because we know ourselves. Well, so it's a surprise to us. Okay. It's a surprise.
So, Saji,
yeah,
you agree with him?
Fantastic question. You see, combating terrorism is not military-centric. Most people just think it's all about the military, it's all about the security. No, there are two-way coin in counter-insurgency, the military-centric approach and the population-centric approach, which has to deal with the politicians, which has to do with our leaders, political will. Because if we leave it to the military will fight till eternity, and that is the truth. And you talked about the conferences and the talks they've been having. Good one. That's another methodology to mitigate terrorism. But how do we get rid of these people? We need to start looking at the society. We need to start looking at social contracts as well, because most of these guys, how do they get their fighters from? That's where we talk about employment methodology, because they capitalize on the vulnerable Nigerians. Like the lady that carried out that suicide bombing, I can tell that maybe perhaps she's highly vulnerable, because most times we think they have to brainwash. Some of them are not being brainwashed.
Well, it's a long, I mean, you said it already. It's something that we just have to keep our eyes on. Now, 2-3 years after, you said, Honorable, and then we're having this surprise attack. Yes. I just hope, I want to hear the news that the military also surprised them.
No, we should surprise them. You're correct.
That's been happening as well. Honorable,
the only thing I will suggest we should surprise them with is let us resort to recruitment of mercenaries to come and clear the Mandara Mountain.
Well, you're a member of the House Committee on the Army. Maybe they will listen to that suggestion in one of your meetings. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Honorable Ahmadu Jaha, representative of the Chibok, Damboa, and Gwoza Federal Constituency, also a member of the House Committee on the Army, as well as Mr. Dixon Osagie, certified counter-terrorism practitioner and global security analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you so much
for your time.
Thank you.
Up next is Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. Stay with us.
Thank you, Aya. Well, hello, welcome. It's a rainy trading morning right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now. Starting with the oil market, we see oil prices edge higher again, continuing from yesterday's jump there. We see Brent $86.59 a barrel, up 0.39% in early trade today. WTI crude as a U.S. grade, $83.14. That's getting higher. We know this is the grade that the Dangote refinery likes to import at this time. So we've seen prices rising with WTI at this time, 0.45% up. That's what we have. Let's get a check on the FX market now. Let's get a close for yesterday. We see the Naira depreciated by about 3 basis points yesterday. But for the Previous trade for NAFEM, 1,505 naira. That was a close from 1,508, 0.23% jump there. Then for the NAFEX, 1,509 naira for the close. So there was a trading range yesterday from about 1,400 to 1,500 naira to the dollar, but we see a 1.84% jump there, and that's for the NAFEX. And for the gross external reserves, that improves slightly by about 0.14% to $34.19 billion. All right, to other stories now. We see the Central Bank of Nigeria has threatened to sanction commercial banks and other authorized forex dealers that reject the old and small denominations of the US dollar from their customers. According to latest statements released on its website, the financial market regulator says the directive comes after the market intelligence it carried out revealed the continued rejection of affected dollar notes, which it describes as unacceptable. The Apex Bank mentioned that it had been faced with complaints of the rejection of old and low denominations of US dollar deposits in the banks and directs all DMBs and authorized forex dealers to accept both old series and low denominations of the US dollar bills that are legal tender. And the European Union ambassador to Nigeria, Samuel Esopi, has announced that Nigeria remains the EU's largest trading partner with 35 billion euros in trade last year. At the EU-Nigeria Business Forum, she noted that EU-Nigeria trade relations are valued at 26 billion euros, a third of Nigeria's foreign direct investment, and commended Nigeria for paying over 90% of the 850 million euros to European airlines. Take a listen.
The 9th EU-Nigeria Business Forum has brought together members of the diplomatic corps, Nigeria government officials, members of the private sector, and Nigerians from all walks of life. After years of this partnership, officials see the forum as a time to take stock. How has each partner fared in bilateral relations?
The European Union remains by far Nigeria's largest trading partner, with a total trade last year of 35 billion euros, accounting for about 1/3 of Nigeria's foreign trade, and a balance, and I think we need a round of applause here, of over 10 billion euros in favor of Nigeria.
Reassuring words indeed, but in recent times, issue of relocation of multinational companies to other countries came to the fore at the meeting.
Unfortunately, we are not happy that our brothers, some of them have been leaving. Friends don't leave you when things are not looking good. If truly you are here for our mutual benefit, even in these challenges, you should be able to help us provide solutions.
Government officials, however, insist that there's no cause for alarm. They itemize the present administration's plan to boost trade and investment.
Confronting decades of underinvestment and choices that should have been made but are just being made may come with some social cost and challenges, particularly for those at the lower end of the income strata. And that's why we have instituted, and we are gratified by the support we are receiving from development partners in measures to be able to compensate for those challenges and include those who are otherwise hurt by the reforms we are undertaking.
The EU-Nigeria Business Forum plans to open up dialogue between the public and the private sector, as well as highlight the role of government towards achieving inclusive development. This is just as the European Union promises to invest in the nation's health, agricultural and digital space in the days ahead. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
And now to our first conversation. Well, maize is the most extensively cultivated food crop in Africa, serving as a primary food source for over 300 million people. However, its production is significantly hindered by drought and insect pests, which adversely affect yields, resulting in crop failures, hunger, and poverty. With support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, a United States agency for international development, the AATF is spearheading the Tela maize project. This public-private partnership aims to tackle the challenges of drought and destructive insects, specifically stem borers and fall armyworm. Let's discuss the prospects for this maize variant. Now, joining us for this conversation is Mr. Tunde Banjoko, is MD Banjoko Farms. Join me right here in the studio.
Thank you,
great to have you. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, yeah, quite a lot happening with maize. And we see this Tela maize variant now, see a lot of controversy on this. But let's look at the countries that have adopted Tela maize at this time. Some of the African countries, mostly Ethiopia, Kenya, Mozambique, Nigeria, South Africa, Tanzania. These countries have adopted this Tela maize at this point. But what we've been hearing talks about, has enough research been done, about this? It's supposed to be something that was created in a lab, so there might be some risk, health risk, risk to the environment. Talk to us about Tela maize. Is it the savior they claim it should be?
I think we should look at it from this perspective. There are problems, and then we are trying to bring solutions to those problems.
Right.
Like you rightly said, we don't have enough. And then we are also battling. If you look at some of the countries mentioned, you see that they are having drought issues. So, and this stuff has actually been on for about 10 years. So Tela maize is not just coming on board. They started with the Wema maize, which is the water, one that you want maize that are drought tolerant. So that's why we have countries like Mozambique, Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda leading. And sometimes around 2019, Nigeria joined the conversation, actually, to also join in the test run. 2021 was when we joined the Tela maize scheme because climate change became real to everybody. And then since 2021, we've been involved in the research. So it's not just a government thing, like you rightly mentioned, it's a public-private partnership arrangement.
Right.
But I think where the issue is, like you rightly said, I think the gap has been in the communication. That's one. You started it in 2019. How much of awareness do we have? The communication to the public, because you can't just take away what we've known all year round for years. So people are still averse to it. But we are trying to solve a problem of we need something that will drought tolerant, disease resistant, and then we can have better yield. Because this has been proven to have about minimum of 8 tons per hectare. Now we are doing about 2 to 3 tons per hectare.
Right.
So it's more like, is it going to be the silver bullet? No. But I think the communication has been the issue. Then I think there's an issue of trust. Because most of our institutions, can we really trust them? Because we know most of them to compromise on quality and on standard. So I think that's why a lot of people are still struggling to accept this Tela maize.
Right.
Because we are not sure, are we sure nothing has been compromised in the process? We have the Nigerian Department.
Because if we're trying to solve a problem, hope we're not creating a big problem.
Another one. So we all agree that there's a problem. We all agreed we need to prove solutions to the problem. But now the solutions that have been provided, we don't really trust the people that brought it. I think that's where the bulk of the issue is.
Right.
Because we established a department on biotechnology. We have those for biosafety. But are we hearing from them? Do we even know the people behind it and their expertise? I think that's where really the...
We're trying to hear from the biosafety department at this point to see if they've done enough extensive research when it comes to Tela maize.
The other one, I've been on for about 10 years, so maybe we could speak of, okay, what's the success rate? Because some countries also complained that what they've got is an average of 3 tons per hectare, not the 8. So can we, like I was saying, I think on Morning Brief last week, it's not enough to do something on a pilot phase, small scale, 1 plot, 2 plots, and roll it out for commercial. Has it been commercial? I mean, the director was saying sometimes, maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, that it's not been launched. It's only been commercialized.
Okay. What's the difference?
You will have to bring out to explain that it's only been, commercialized, not launched, that they've not really gone into the market. But now, this thing came into Nigeria 2021, officially again 2024. So, but can we see any of these agencies, can they show us where they did 20 hectares, 30 hectares? What they said they did was they did pilot phase in 10 states. 10 states, and then they said average of 3 tons per hectare. So we have to be sure that we've done the right thing.
All right, when it comes to GMO, you know, at this point, there's also this issue of labeling, because you want to be able to make a choice.
Yeah.
Do you want GMO foods or do you want organic?
Yeah.
You know, but in this part, you know, there's a labeling gap.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, so you just take whatever you see in the market. You don't know what the origin. You know, at this point. So talk to me about how this is impacting consumers. You know, at this point, because you don't know which one you're getting.
I think for now, the labeling gap, because when you look at the work they've done so far, they've involved NAFDAC, they've involved the Standard Organization of Nigeria, Quarantine Service. Those are some of the institutions that are involved with this responsibility. So we should be talking to them that, how far with the labeling? Are you enforcing it to be sure that I'm not forced? Because I think it should be an open market. If you ask me, I should have the choice to either go for this or go for the other one. Because we're also talking about the economy of it. That because they can't be replanted like the regular one, like the conventional maize, you have to keep buying your seedlings. So people are also concerned about the economy of it, that what if I can't buy it? What if I need the regular one? So we have to talk to NAFDAC, talk to SUN and other people to just be sure they are all doing what they should be doing.
All right, so you know, in your opinion, where do you think Tela maize was developed?
I think it is Nigeria, because it was not just for Nigerian market, but Nigeria participated in the development. You understand? Because Nigerian Institute of Agric Research was involved in Zaire. Our, Biotechnology Department was involved. Of course, like you said, Melinda Gates Foundation. And it's not only Nigeria, it's an African thing.
Right.
And South Africa has even been using it for some time now. And I think
so this is in Africa because these countries have drought issues.
They have drought issues, but because we don't have drought issues, it's not looking like what
we don't have drought issues.
We don't have, but the issues we have also, climate change is global.
Right.
So I think that's why Nigeria also came on board, because climate change is global. Then we also, even though drought is not one of our own issues, but we are struggling with armyworm as well. We are also struggling with, the insects. You see people investing so much, and we're also still struggling with the output per hectare.
Because I'm wondering if it's so good, the insects don't want it.
Yeah.
That's the Tela maize.
Yeah.
They don't want to eat it.
No.
But we're going to eat it.
you know, one thing with GMO is the fact that it's targeted. It was brought to address a particular issue, which is the fact that it will address three things. One, droughts. It will address the issue of insects, and it will also bring better yield. So that's maybe, the driving force. And we actually need that, because if you look at what we are buying in Nigeria now today for maize, at about 700,000 per ton.
Right.
And about 3-4 years ago, I buy 70,000, 80,000 per ton. So, meaning there's a clear issue on ground that needs to be solved. But I think the way we now solve it is all we should now.
How much of maize goes into production of feed for?
Almost 70%, about more.
So
goes into feed.
Livestock will also have to.
No. So we can't. Livestock will have to consume it, and then of course it ends up in our stomach.
So quite interesting. But how are you seeing adoption? How are you seeing adoption? Are farmers, Nigerian farmers, are they embracing?
No. I don't think so, because people are natural. Like I said, the economy of it, which is if I buy from you now, when I harvest in August and I choose to replant, I still have to come back to buy from you. I can't, like the normal convention, people just take from their harvest, store for the next planting season. But now I have to keep coming back to you if I want to have the same result. Because even if I choose to plant it directly without coming to you, I'm not going to have the same results. So if I want my result to be consistent, I have to keep coming back to you. So that's one of the areas people are concerned about, that give me a choice. Give me a choice. Let me choose to buy. Let me choose not to buy. But with Tela maize and any GMOs, you have to keep coming back.
So do you think the target right now is just maize? Are they going to move to other
No,
foods?
we have cotton already. There's cotton, there's cowpea beans. So it's not just only maize. I think people are just talking about that. Maybe that's the one they've been hearing. We have, GMO cottons in Nigeria now. We have cowpea as well, at least those two. So But that of maize, because maize cuts across a lot of industries. Right. And then if you look at even when we're talking about the issue of Russia, Ukraine, maize was also one of the core things. Not just, I mean, it was this other crop that we were dealing with the other time. So, but maize was one of the core products that we needed at that time. So people are concerned about the source and the sustainability.
Because I noticed, sometime that, because there used to be a time corn had season.
Yeah.
So when it was a season, you see the sellers, the side of the roads, roasting corn, boiling corn, for the public. But now they're there constantly. I don't know if you've noticed that.
They are there, not constantly though.
Because I see corn all season.
You see it more often though, but not all year round.
Not all year round.
Not all year round. But I think why we might have that little progress is because people are doing a bit of irrigation now. So people are doing a bit of irrigation. And some of them are also now even roasting, the other one, not just the
so are some of our sellers, are they roasting Tela maize at this point?
I'm not sure they can afford it.
They can afford it.
I'm not
sure. So there's also a cost.
But I think we should just, as a country, let's look at the whole system.
Right.
We have a problem, we want to resolve it. Is Tela maize the only solution? Is importing the solution? Or I think we should look inward and see how we can empower our farmers. Actually, there's a set of farmers that have been neglected in Nigeria, the medium-scale farmers. So we are either bringing policies to say, driving smallholder farmers, 1 hectare, 1 acre, all the time. And then they're not producing enough because they don't have the capacity to produce enough. Right. So you see somebody who has 50 hectares, 100 hectares, we are always leaving that bracket in all of our policies. Looking at it over the past 5-10 years, then for like the anchor borrower was targeting the small farmers, the big corporates. So those guys are the middle, and most of them are closing shop. And that sector we should not neglect.
All right, before I let you go now, talk to me about the Minister of Agriculture right now. Are you seeing any moves from that ministry, when it comes to tackling our food problems?
To be honest, from where I stand, I'm not seeing the move that we need at the moment. I expect more communication from that minister himself, not just maybe Twitter posts, not just Instagram posts. Everybody's not on Twitter. So why are you not engaging? I'm not sure I've probably been in any conference recently where he's been probably involved speaking. You understand? I'm not sure he's been having any stakeholders engagement. So I think he should be more vocal. It's not enough to have good intentions. Recently I heard that he has good intention. But I think he should be more vocal. Okay. And I think they should be national in their thinking. That's my personal opinion. I think more of their projects have been geared towards the north. Personal opinion, like I said, they should engage across board and look at where each state has comparative advantage and leverage on it. And I think they should also prioritize, like I keep repeating, the issue of Bank of Agric. He should look into it and let's see how we can help farmers scale up.
Fantastic.
Because if we don't scale up, that's why we're talking about Tela maize. If we are all scaling up,
we don't need Tela maize.
We won't need it, but it will be an option. It will be an option.
An option.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Always great having your perspective, Mr. Tunde Banjoko, MD at Banjoko Farms. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ladi, for having me.
All right. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we head straight to the markets. That's the moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. All right, let's take a look at the top 5 best performing stocks in the first half of 2024 and gains minted. We see Julie PLC there topping the counter, 1,500% gains for the first half of 2024. Gerigu Power PLC comes in second, 150%. Veritas Capital, 148%. Julius Berger there, 127.91%. And Dangote Cement comes in at the 5th position, 105% gains. So definitely if you invested in these, you're definitely smiling to the bank because you've outperformed inflation and currency devaluation at this point. Let's bring in Mr. Ayodeji Ebo, who's the MD Optimus by Afrinvest. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nadi. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so looking at the gains so far from these stocks, quite an incredible first half of 2024. Talk to me about how you can actually identify these kind of stocks before they go up this high, you know, in this market, so you can actually key into the second half of 2024. Talk to me about that.
Okay, thanks. I think the first thing is to look at the sector where those stocks are playing and the activity. So you look at Julie, for instance, what is happening is mostly you see the activity going in that space is really very lean, which means that just a few people are selling within that space, and some people are trying to take particular, maybe sometimes you have people trying to take particular position in some company, maybe based on the expectation to turn around that company. And if you have very few people trying to sell, that's what I would say for Julie Pharmacy, because when you look at the amount, the units that moves the shares is not significant. But when we look at the likes of the Geregu Power, Dangote Cement, yeah, so for some of them, it was strategic. You would see for Dangote Cement, for instance, was when they announced the share buyback, was also part of what led to the move that we saw. However, we observed that there's been less activity even in the stock, which is also making it sustain that particular momentum, that level where it stayed, compared to how we used to see volume in and out, and that will lead to the ups and downs in that particular stock. So you look at Geregu too, for instance, the activity within that stock too is also very limited. So, but in identifying most of these stocks, maybe ahead of time, most times it's the strategic positioning of maybe the company trying to look at you have to look at where they play. So you would see Julius Berger, for instance, that major gain that we're also seeing. If you would agree with me that we know that construction is a major area that has picked up, and sometimes you have some strategic investors trying to acquire these stocks even at any level. They want to get a board seat, and when you begin to see week on week, they don't just gain the maximum amount you can gain in the market is 10%. You will see like Julie Pharmacy, for instance, when it was still at maybe 2 naira, 3 naira, I tracked it, saw it, but you will see that there's no major supply at that level. But when you look at the other four, for those ones, when you begin to see volume or you see them consistently appearing on top peaks for the week, you can begin to ask questions on what is actually happening in those stocks. And when you get the right answer, so that is fundamentally driven, not speculative, because if you go right on speculative, you can also lose your funds. You know, just like we are talking about top gainers, there are also top losers within that particular half of the year. So by and large, you have to be very close to the market and also look at how policies are also shaping some of these companies and decisions that the management and the board of those companies are making.
All right, going into H2 at this point, what sectors do you think investors should actually be looking at for the second half of 2024 if you're trying to beat inflation, you know, at this point?
Okay, I think one of the attractive sector that investors should look at is the telecommunication sector. Yes, we've had, because of the FX losses, the companies within that space, their profitability is being impacted. However, we know that when you look at the revenue top line, when you break it down based on data, voice, the PSB license, it continues to grow, and there continue to be opportunities. So investors, when they see that when prices are a bit low to a level, you buy in, or you begin to buy in tranches and position ahead. It is not when they turn to profit, but that's also what happens. It's not when they turn to the profit level that you now want to buy the stocks. The agri sector too is also an area that we should also look at, that provide prospects for most of these companies. Even with they still sell internally almost 95% of their produce, and if it means that if they even expand, there's still opportunity for them to export. So it needs to grow if there's no major policy shock on them. The banking sector, while there's really activities, now there's a lot of activity going on around capitalization. Investors will need to choose whether they are taking up their rights, whether they are buying in the market, whether they are buying offers, which will also increase outstanding shares. And most times that also will depress prices. But for long-term investors, it's when prices are down that you should begin to take position for the long term. So they will present long-term activity or long-term attractiveness as we progress. So those sectors, the cement sector, we still feel there's potential there given the construction contract within that space.
Right, so much to unpack there, but I guess the mantra still stands: buy when the market is fearful and maybe sell when the market is greedy. Thank you so much. Always great having your perspective, Mr. Ayodeji Mabel, who's the MD, Optimus by AfriInvest. Thank you so much. All right, so that's it from me on Business Morning. We'll give you a summary of stock market close later in the day. I'll hand things over now to the Sunrise Daily team.
It's time for us to move to Lagos, where we'll be speaking with the Academic Staff Union of Universities there. They've reeled out a long list of issues and things that they think have to be addressed before they go on that strike. And we're hearing that that strike is imminent if these things are not sorted out. So joining us right now via Zoom in Lagos, Mr. Dele Ashiru, the immediate past chairman of ASUU in University of Lagos. It's good to have you with us on the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for this invitation.
Yes, we understand. We understand that the floods in Lagos have kept you in your car, and we have to join you via Zoom in your car. Sorry about that, and all the best to everyone who's going through the same thing. But I want to be able to talk about these things that the organization at least the union in Unilag are asking for. What's really the situation right now?
Well, the situation is that the federal government is still paying lip service to the development of tertiary, especially university education in Nigeria. Over the years, we have engaged government in quite a number of issues since 2009. And up till today, 15 years after, all of those issues have remained unresolved in spite of all the strikes, all the memorandum of understanding, memorandum of action, and including the last strike action we had in 2022. So today we are mobilizing not only in Unilag, across the country, all our branches, to tell Nigerians and our students, critical stakeholders, that government is once again pushing our union to going on another round of industrial action. And because our union knows the implication of constantly going on strike on the university system, this time around, we are trying to see whether Nigerians can prevail on the Tinubu-led federal government to do what is right in our university system so that we don't witness another crisis.
I want to be able to take a look at the list of demands. I think we have a slide for that. Just so we can take a look at some of the things that you're asking, or at least your union is asking for at this particular time. I think we're going to have that up on the screen in a bit. You know, when it comes to industrial actions, while these, list of demands may be very crucial and very important, very long list there, asking for the conclusion and signing of the renegotiated agreement based on Professor Nimi Briggs' committee report and a lot of other things that are on this list of demands. One of the criticisms that you may have to deal with, Mr. Ashiru, is the fact that, many parents are probably tired of their kids being at home from one strike or the other. Almost feels like you're punishing parents and their children, their wards, for your impasse with the government. What do you make of that assertion, sir?
Well, it would be a wrong way to approach the issue if they think that we are punishing our students. No, we are not. Look, but for our struggles over the years, there may probably be no school for those children to attend today. And if you look at what is currently happening in Nigeria, you find out that very soon, if urgent steps are not taken, our universities will collapse. Only yesterday, the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, wrote an open letter to the president, telling the president that universities cannot afford to pay the new tariff for electricity bill. Can you run a university without electricity? That's number one. Number two, concerning our issues, although the list appear long, but all of them are byproducts of one agreement with government or the other. Let me take some time to look at the list. The first one is that our members have been receiving the same salary in the last 15 years. In fact, our salaries are better 15 years ago than they are today. Is it fair for a group of workers to be receiving the same salary in 15 years? That's number one. Number two, we are being punished for going on strike in 2022. Now, all the work that they said we didn't do in 2022, we have already done them. Our students have graduated, they have moved on with their lives, their parents are also moving on with their lives, but up till today, of that 2022 strike, consequent upon withholding our salaries, we feel that government is not fair to us in this direction. Number three, government is at the moment owing us check-off dues, cooperative society deductions, which they took from our salaries and they have not remitted to the respective institutions where they should do so. Not only is that criminal, it is the height of insensitivity on the part of government to do so. Our members are being owed promotion arrears. Our members who went on sabbatical, who went on adjunct lectureship, have not been paid because government deployed an evil and fraudulent your money and not remit. As I speak with you, government asked us to develop an alternative platform for payment of our salaries when we criticized IPPIS. We spent our money, produced that national solution to payment problems not only in the universities, rather than government embracing that creative ingenuity of our union and of our members. They are today paying humongous money for the operation of IPPIS. So although the list appeared long, but all of those issues are tied to one consequent of to do what is right for our members. And I don't know what it is that our members, the academic staff in Nigerian universities have done to successive governments in Nigeria to deserve this kind of treatment.
Mr. Ashiru, let's take a look at the demands 7, 8, and 9, because it does feel a lot like the demands from 1 to 6 have to do with monies, you're being owed, monies you feel you should be paid, and we'll get to that shortly. But you talked about the funding for the revitalization in number 7, funding for the revitalization of public universities as partly captured in the 2023 federal government budget.
Partly captured?
Yeah, so the immediate stoppage of the proliferation of universities by the federal and state governments and the deployment of the University Transparency and Accountability solution, UTAS, instead of IPPIS. Now, these 7 to 9 do seem like things that a lot of people will back you on. But from 1 to 6 does feel a lot like we're looking at monies that you're being owed. Do you still hold the thought that it's fair, in your view, to demand these things and keep children at home at this time?
For goodness sake, is it right for government to be owing us? Is it right for God to deduct our money and not remit? Is it fair that we have been our salaries are the lowest if you consider the West African average? Is it fair that a worker will continue to work without anything, any incentive to show for it? We are not asking government to do anything that is like a favor to us. We are saying that you yourself put in the 2023 budget and academic allowances that you are owing us. Up to today, another budget has been passed. The money has not been released. Isn't that fraudulent? Doesn't that tell you something about the kind of government that we run? We are being owed promotion arrears since 2018. 2018, this is 2024. Are you saying that we have not been patient enough? Are you saying that we've not been patriotic enough to put your hands together and pay us? Look, we are not apologetic about demanding for monies that we are owed. Can you owe a bank, and then when the bank comes for you to pay the money you are owing, you tell the bank stories? So I think that Nigerians need to remove this sentiment. There's no category of worker in Nigeria that is being owed the way our members are owed. And we are saying it for the opting time. We have given a reasonable period of time for government to put its act together and pay us what they are owing us. And also do what is right to avert another crisis in the university system.
Mr. Shiru, if you would, Dr. Shiru, my pardon, if you would hazard a guess as to how much what the federal government is owing members of your organization, what would be your speculative, and if you have a precise figure?
It's over 100 billion. What government is owing our union is over 100 billion, and that some part of that amount had been captured in the 2023 budget. So why is government not releasing it?
Okay. Now, on the one hand, what we will hear from specialists is a budget is a proposal depending on availability of funds. Is that an argument that you are sympathetic with?
No. A budget is a law. Once it's passed, it's an appropriation bill. And not monies that you are owing people. Government is indebted to us. And why is it that it's only our money that is at the level of proposal? An appropriation bill is a law. You can go to jail if you don't faithfully implement a budget. Okay. So that argument.
So exactly, one of the questions to ask then will be, Dr. Shiru, exactly who should we be addressing this issue to right now? There are, we've heard this for the umpteenth time. Who should be speaking up about this particular matter right now, Dr. Shiru?
Well, the Minister of Education and the President himself. If the President understands the pivotal role of tertiary education in Nigeria, he will work assiduously to ensure that these issues are resolved in favor of our members. And it doesn't take eternity to resolve all of these issues. Only recently, government says they are constructing a road, a coastal road from Lagos to Calabar. at humongous amount of money. And that project had commenced. Here we are being owed since 2009. We are being owed promotion areas since 2018. And government is refusing to pay us in spite of all their actions. So we are saying that the buck stops on the president's table. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the one to intervene in this matter, give appropriate directives, and ensure that those directives are obeyed.
All right.
That is the way government.
Okay, Dr. Ashiru, you said that the money being owed by the federal government to your members is in the region of 100 billion naira, and notice of industrial action is from the University of Lagos branch. Is that money just for for the members of the University of Lagos ASUU or the national body of ASUU?
No, it's the national body. In fact, all of these demands are national demands, where we only published those demands as part of our mobilization strategies, so that the public will get familiar with the issues that are in contention. All of those demands there are national demands. And what we are doing in UNILAG is nationally directed, just as they are doing in all other universities across the country. So it's a national demand.
Okay. So now this notice is from ASUU. Are you saying that it's
yes.
Is it an instruction from the national body of ASUU, or is this just ASUU saying that if we do not get any response from government, we're going to go on strike? Just to beg your pardon, just UNILAG, or all universities in the country?
All the universities in the country. That leaflet is a directive from the National Executive Council of our union.
But it also says University of Lagos branch.
Yeah, because we are the ones who are publishing this leaflet. But the demands are our demands, which are nationally directed.
Okay. Now, the University of Lagos is under the purview of the federal government. Is this action only for universities that are owned by the federal government, or it also concerns state universities as well?
It concerns all public universities in Nigeria, whether federal or state. Our union doesn't discriminate between federal and state government, because we believe that universities are universal. And it is that you get from our universities, nobody will ask you whether it's from a federal or from a state university. So these demands are from all public universities that are members of our great union.
Okay. The question then to ask Dr. Ashiru would be, because the question has also been asked variously. We are asking questions from the federal government, but then the state governments also have universities. So are you also directing this information, this conversation, this issue? Are you addressing the state governments as well? Are you asking them the same questions that you're asking the federal government?
Of course. Of course. And the regulatory agency for universities in Nigeria is National Universities Commission. There is no commission for federal university or commission for state universities. So our demands, as it affects federal universities, also affects state universities.
The question that I'm trying to get the answer to, Dr. Ashiru, is whether or not states themselves are responding to you in this particular matter. What have they said? Okay, go ahead.
Some states are responding. In fact, as I speak with you, some state governments pay higher in terms of emolument to their members than even federal government. And I can give copious examples. Obafemi Olabisi Onabanjo University, their salaries is ×2. The one we earn in UNILAG. River State University of Science and Tech. Niger Delta University. There are so many universities who are today paying more than the federal government. So they are responding, and those who are not responding, we are encouraging them to do so. Even the salaries of those in LASU is higher than those of us in UNILAG.
So the question then to ask is, in the event that you know, this time that you have given lapses and there is no significant response from the federal or other state governments, will these universities that are complying, as you say, also be compelled to go on strike?
Yes. Yes. Because an injury to one is an injury to all. That's why we have a union.
But you said
And
that
it
the
doesn't matter
states,
whether...
you said the paymasters are complying, yet you want them to go on strike.
But there are other demands beyond mere payments. When we struggle for funding to revitalize universities, they get part of it irrespective of what their government is paying. So they are duty bound to obey the union and do what is right.
Okay, now we also know that there are various other levels of authority. I'm wondering if there's been other conversation with the House Committee on Education or the Senate Committee on Education or other interested stakeholders in this matter, because what we know about the university system in Nigeria is that those are the ivory towers. That's where we are supposed to get the brain of the nation from. When we hear these kinds of comments, Dr. Ashuri, it's very, very disheartening. So what are other stakeholders doing or saying about this impasse?
What do you expect them to say? When their children are in university in Nigeria, what do you expect them to say? The money I just told you was out of the last budget. It was under Honorable Gbajabiamila when he was speaker. He was the one who assured us. He identified that one of the reasons why those problems have remained intractable is because when we have agreements, they don't put them in the budget. And he worked commendably at that time to put these demands in the 2023 budget. He is now the chief of staff to the president. And we have written him severally to say that this emolument that you have put in the budget is yet to be released. Nothing has come out of it. Several interventions from Senate Committee on Education, on Tertiary Education, House of Representative Committee, even the current speaker had to intervene in our matter. All to no avail.
But Mr. Ashuri, I mean, it's a very precarious situation that we've all found ourselves in. I'm wondering how the government is going to cough out this money and give it to you, because those are some of the major things in your demands here. In an era where we're hearing that people can't pay, some state governments can't pay minimum wage of 30,000 naira, and then we're trying to increase that. And then with everything that's going on in the country, with everyone saying there is no money, ultimately, what would be a favorable response for the union, and how soon do you expect that response?
Immediately. And the other, there's no money. It's only diversionary and unpatriotic. There's money to do whatever. Only send it right another presidential jet. Honestly, we were told 90 billion was used for people to go to Hajj. Only recently, money was voted to do all kinds of things that may not directly impact on the Nigerian people. We are saying that government should understand the importance of tertiary education and see it as the bedrock for its future development. Until they do that, Nigeria will continue to wallow in poverty and continue in this underdevelopment state because adequate attention is not paid to the development of the mind. So we are appealing for the opting time and also requesting well-meaning Nigerians to help speak to government to do what is right before another round of industrial crisis in our universities.
We do have to wrap it up there. That'll be a good place. But good luck to the union and all that you do, and keep safe as well while you do what you need to do. Thank you so much, Mr. Ashuri, for joining us on the program. Mr. Dele Ashuri, the immediate past chairman of ASUU in Unilag. And of course, you saw there that he had to join us from his car. And that's because the floods in Lagos are upon Lagosians. And we're having those visuals for you right now, just so you can understand the scale of what the people in Lagos are going through at this point in time. And I think these are places that Ayo are very familiar with. I mean, if if it was Abuja now, I'll be able to tell you exactly where this water is coming from, where it's leading to. Give us an insight.
Well, for one, you have to recognize one thing. I can't, make any case for any government, but the facts are facts. Lagos is one of the lowest, is one of the places with the lowest water beds in the country. And so it's a responsibility both on the part of the government and the people to ensure that we do not clog the drainage ways and all of that. So that's one of the things that I can just see here. We knew that the rains were going to happen. So why is this happening to us now? This is, and I don't even know if the 7-day rain or whatever they call it has started, but that's what that is. Again, we could go back to the issue of eternal vigilance, won't we? But I find this, just before we go, Kela, I find this message very, very, interesting. It's from one of our viewers. I sent it about an hour or two ago, almost 2 hours ago. It says, prosperity will come to Nigeria when we start to invest in the people, especially education and healthcare. A healthy nation is a wealthy nation, and people with a basic education can be industrious and work hard to the benefit of all. That's from Atinuke on X, and it's so precise and so profound to the conversation that we just.
I mean, we have a situation where a lot of things are being weaponized in this country, and those are things that, as a people, we have to understand that we cannot pretend that it's not happening. That you're not thinking about it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Absolutely.
So if things like poverty, lack of education are being weaponized, then those are things that we should focus on and insist that those things are delivered to the Nigerian people. Well,
I believe that the conversation will continue where you are. In the meantime, we have to let you have the rest of your day now. Thank you for the privilege of being part of it. I'm Ayo Makide.
Have a great day ahead. I'm Kayla Magwa.